Hello, Dr. Dan Miller. Welcome to On the 250 River with Dr. Dan. We're going to look at 250 years ago today. This is 1774 on our journey to the American founding in 1776. And for us in 2024, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence in 2026. So we're going to take just a few minutes today to do what we always do, which is go back, find real story, real people, and real life from then to help us understand what that means for us now. So the full story, the full entry of today's story, I should say, is back on my website, historicalsolutions.com. Look under Americanism Redux, and you're going to see the date, October the 3rd, 1774. This is 250 years ago today and 250 years ago that week. So today's sponsor, episode 5, Peter Louvray. Peter Louvray, he is a French master of the language and the culture and the ways and the lifestyle. All things French you can learn from Peter Louvray. Your child, welcome to come to his school at any time and experience the one-of-a-kind immersion into the French world that he or she will get with Peter Louvray in the town of Charleston in the colony of South Carolina. For all things French, see Peter Louvray. That's our 99% factual advertisement. That's a real thing in South Carolina. It's 1% fiction, of course, because it's 1774, and he's not paying the freight for us in 2024. So, couple things. Got something special to say. The entry that you're going to see has to do with what's now capital C Congress. They've given themselves a capital letter, and that's kind of important. You know, they're neck deep in the weeds and in the work by week 4. That's today, October the 3rd. It's week 4 for them. They're looking at a plan of union that would reorganize the colonies as a separate thing inside of the British Empire. That way you keep the peace, you keep the freedom. That's the argument. They are looking at a non-importation declaration. We're going to cease all trade with England until they put things right and get rid of the coercive acts. They're chewing and arguing about that. And third, they're chewing and arguing about a speech that would be, or a letter, whatever you want to call it, that would be written and sent directly to and specifically for the King George III of England from the Congress with the capital C in front of it. So there, as I said, neck deep in the weeds, neck deep in the work here by week 4. Two pairs of stories I want to draw your attention to back at the site, historicalsolutions.com, on today's entry of Redux, October the 3rd. I got a pair of trees. I got a white pine and a white oak, and I've got amazing stories about them from today, 250 years ago. I got a pair of people. Opposite ends in terms of how they live their life, how they look at the world. I've got two different people, vastly different people, doing incredibly the same thing on today, 250 years ago. And that same thing is they're trying to save their reputations. One of them is trying to save it. The other one's trying to kind of polish it up because it's gotten a little smudged in the last month or so. So same task from two completely different directions. Take a look at that story. And then I want to share with you now something that's different. And I'm going to call on you to make a big mental leap with me. You know, we're 250 River, right? We're on 250 River. Well, there's been a lot of rivers for this. And there's a lot of people that have remembered this over time. We're certainly among them on 250. But I want to take 100 years off of that. I want to go back to 150. And I want to go back to the vice president, the former vice president, whose boss was in not great health, frail looking, who ended up dying in office. I'm talking about Warren Harding. And now we've got a POTUS who had to step in to become POTUS and now step up to the job one way or the other. So Calvin Coolidge gives a speech today, or this week, 150 years after 1774, 100 years ago for us, 150 years after 1774. He felt it was very important to commemorate that occasion of the convening of the Continental Congress. So he wrote a speech about it. And I got to tell you, I got a link up on the entry, the full entry, back at the website, historicalsolutions.com, Americanism Redux, October the 3rd. Go into it, you'll see the link to his speech. It's great. It's great. We're dusting it off, man. We're using shovels and everything else to get all that dust off because nobody pays any attention anymore. And doggone, that's a shame. Well, we are. We are. Let me tell you what he says, or a few things of what he says. Number one, he gets all the details right about the history of the thing in terms of 1774, 1776, 1787. Number two, he's wanting to bring up the genius, the lessons learned, the wisdom that's been confirmed. He wants to bring that on up to his world in 1924, and he's got a couple of things he wants to look at. He wants to look at the production and distribution in the economy because there's a lot of inequality in 1924. So we've got to look to these folks for lessons for this. The other thing, he wants to look to those folks for lessons for this in terms of mobs and violence in the community. It has two forms in his world. It's the Ku Klux Klan here at home, and it's the Russian Revolution and the Bolsheviks, the communists abroad. So he's seen community violence also, and he thinks there's a lot of lessons to be learned from the wisdom of 1774, 1776, and 1787. As I said, it's a brilliant speech. I can't speak to how it sounded. Maybe there's a recording out there, I don't know, but I can sure tell you how it reads. And that is, it reads quite strikingly. So, I'm Dan Miller. We're on 250 River with Dr. Dan. Go back to my website, as I said. Pick up the story in full. I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend ahead. And I hope to see you next time.